So we had the Nike CEO go on CNBC, and believe it or not, the CNBC host asked some decent questions. Watch the Nike CEO squirm about his relationship with China.
We participate in sport all over the world, including China. China is a very important market for us. We have a long-term history in China. You know, Phil Knight, our founder, was in China 40 years ago, beginning to build what's now an incredible consumer connection that Chinese consumers have with Nike, with Jordan, with Converse. And so we continue to invest in China. We have over 7,000 monobrand stores in China through our Chinese partners. We're the #1 sports brand on Tmall, have been for the last decade, still are today. And so we take a very long-term view in China. We're continuing to invest in China, and we'll continue to invest in China, while also operating a very responsible global supply chain.
Well, you told an analyst on the conference call last quarter that you are a brand. You said we are a brand of China and for China, which got a lot of attention given the attention from the U.S. and around the world on the human rights issues, the brutal clampdown on Hong Kong, questions about where COVID-19 came from. Do you feel like you have to sacrifice your values at all as a company to do business there and to continue to grow and continue those deep roots that you talked about Nike has there?
Not at all, Sarah. We connect to consumers in markets all over the world. And so I could say go into any country around the world and say consumers in that market consider Nike a brand of their market for them. And that's one of the reasons Nike's been so globally successful. And we operate very aligned with our values, always have been, always will, including throughout our entire supply chain. And so this is simply part of the challenges of operating a global brand in global markets. And we've navigated that very well for 50 years, and we will continue to do that.
So there's a lot to say about that. He says, we operate very aligned with our values. Well, then allow me to say your values blow. They're terrible. They suck. Because, listen, this is a common theme on this show. We talk about it. Yeah, permanent normal trade relations with China was even worse than NAFTA for the working class in America. There's been, I think it's over 1 million jobs that have been lost since we did permanent normal trade relations with China. So this is the biggest issue when it comes to outsourcing. We like to outsource our good, decent paying U.S. jobs everywhere around the world, and including China. So if he says we operate very aligned with our values, okay, then your values include loving outsourcing, which I don't. I actually fucking hate it. Whatever jobs we can have here, we should have here. Then, I mean, he's just flat out overlooking, to the extent that stuff goes on in China in regards to Nike, I'm sure they're paying shitty sweatshop wages. I'm sure they're overlooking safety and labor regulations. They're completely lax over there. And in fact, that's the whole point for people to go over there. Hey, we save money. We save on, safety stuff and labor stuff, and we can pay sweatshop wages. And so why not? Why wouldn't we do it? Why wouldn't we outsource the jobs and make another nickel? That's honestly how they look at it. And that's a fucking problem. And so you could look at this from the labor angle, and it's infuriating that you have CEOs making arguments like this guy's making and flat out bullshitting everybody who's listening. But there is another angle to this as well, which is the U.S. media would only ask such a question. Now, but I'm happy they did, by the way. But there's no consistent standard, because U.S. media would only ask this question about China or Russia or any other like official enemy state, because the marching orders have come down. There's got to be a build-up to a new Cold War, whether it's with Russia or with China, or whether it's, fear-mongering over Iran or North Korea. States that are deemed official enemies or, not on our sweetheart list, the media can have a field day and, ask questions that are hawkish by their very nature. So I feel like we should be clear every time we talk about this issue, just like with Russia. I would say with China, I don't want a Cold War. I don't want a war. I want peace. And I think public officials should work towards peace. Now, that does not mean outsource all the fucking U.S. jobs there and let them get away with sweatshop bullshit. No, I would say don't outsource the jobs. Make the jobs come back to the United States. we could still have a neutral relationship with China, but definitely don't want any sort of, hawkish, standoffish relationship with them. And that's why the question is coming. And that question is coming from that position. And you just wouldn't see that if the question was in regards to India, if the question was in regards to Bangladesh, they wouldn't ask it like that. There wouldn't be this like standoffish tone to it. But really, if you're looking at this from the labor perspective, the questions should be asked of all the big companies that have outsourced jobs. Like, they have abandoned the United States of America, and they did it to make an extra nickel. And what we have is a race to the bottom. That's what this outsourcing does. Whether it's NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, any of the other so-called free trade deals, they're really just outsourcing deals. And the whole point of them was to make the owner class more wealthy, to make the billionaires more wealthy, to have more corporate profits. And if that means screwing over the worker in the U.S. and destroying former factory towns that were doing well, then so be it. And so they don't care. That's how these questions should be framed. That's how they should be asked. And you should ask it whether it's outsourcing to China or India or Bangladesh or anywhere else for that matter. And unfortunately, they don't do that. They wouldn't even do that if you're talking about some sort of, when they talk about the weapons deals with Saudi Arabia, the media doesn't even ask questions like this, where they would say, hey, these guys just killed Jamal Khashoggi. Shouldn't you not give them billions of dollars in weapons? Hey, these guys just armed jihadists on the ground in Yemen. Shouldn't you not give them billions of dollars in weapons? They wouldn't even ask that again, because the way the media functions is, if it's our ally, be soft on them. If it's an enemy, be as tough as you want. So, but everybody's full of shit. The media is full of shit there, but also the CEO's full of shit, because the CEO is, of course, trying to whitewash and paint a rosy picture when it comes to outsourcing the jobs and paying shitty wages and overlooking safety and labor regulations. So bring the fucking jobs home. And also, the media should probably chill when it comes to Russia and China and official enemy states, because all they do is feed that bogus, hawkish narrative, and that's not cool.